when it comes to the design world and how it's going to move forward, is helping people see that design is not alien. And I think both of your guys' documentaries humanized it, but not in a trivial way, but reminded people that people do these things. And I think that that's empowering. But I think even more important, people have to realize that they are designing all the time, and that even through choices, not the way some of the people objectify are, but the real point is that this is a continuity of human history. People have been designing, like the drawing, the stone drawings that were in the beginning of yours, and people have been doing it forever. And in a way, what Design by Designers is taking that vernacular design process and accelerating it through the intense application of iteration to a place where now solutions come a lot quicker. But 1,000 years ago, probably right here or 100 miles from here, there was a village that each year made a slightly better basket. They didn't throw away the baskets because they worked, but when they were done after a few years, they said, well, this one worked a little bit better. And I know this happened in India, because we've looked into that. The National Institute of Design is based on this idea that this iterative journey that happened through folk design is in a deep way related to the kind of design that you think of when you hear design. And that needs to be embraced and kind of given back, not to say anyone can do it, but from the standpoint of it's not alien. It's not a weird thing that's happening to you. It's human existence. Exactly. It didn't happen out of nowhere. People have been designing their environment forever and making choices, and maybe not consciously in the same way, and in a way that they kind of take it for granted. But I think that to me is the breakthrough that has to happen, and it's going to require designers to acknowledge the consequences of that, and societies also.
An issue of getting design into government and getting the people that are trained to creatively solve problems and come up with take very complex systems and simplify them and streamline them and make them work better. I mean, I would much rather have any designer at this conference designing the U.S. healthcare system than I would any politician, because that's not what they're trained to do. Politicians are not trained to solve problems. And the people that are brilliant at that should be brought into that discussion, or put in a position where they can actually do that. And it's starting to happen more and more. I think in England there's been some initiatives, but I mean, that's the biggest challenge. I think the biggest challenges for design are obviously sustainability, but also these governmental systems. No one thinks that they're run well. Everyone has an issue with how they're operated and how they're designed. So why not get the people that are great at this stuff involved in those decisions and part of those solutions?
I was going to say, speaking of design, I always felt the U.S. Constitution was a very elegantly designed document. If you think, it's not perfect and it never was perfect, but the whole idea of the checks and balances, so it can be done in that if you ever look at the Constitution as a design document, it's pretty fascinating. And but the other thing I would say is that I bet most parents have their at least think about giving their kids music lessons, and most of them have no expectation that their kids will become professional musicians. Why aren't we doing the same? But why do you do it? Because you want your kid to get music thinking in their head. And as you guys say, in particular, having music thinking in your head is added value to your life throughout. Even though you couldn't become professionals, it didn't matter. Why isn't design taught the same way? Where kids get design thinking and they learn it, but they go become a nurse or a dentist or a CPA or whatever, but they now have the handle on this process. Then that all of a sudden makes all sorts of conversations in the society possible, because people actually know what you're talking about when you say, oh, well, let's get some designers involved in the healthcare system.
It's also almost like design is trained out of children, because any kid that's ever but any kid that's ever built a fort or imagined some new toy or created something themselves, it's that kind of spirit of creativity. It's the people that don't lose that end up being design thinkers and go on to really do design. So it's almost like, it's almost not like teaching it, but it's just like encouraging what's natural in our species, is to figure this stuff out and to experiment and explore and notice those differences and try to make things work better or help us live our lives.
I really agree with all they've said. I would only add, maybe I'm saying the same thing in a different way, but it's this idea that I'm always less interested in all the attention always goes to the big and the bold and the brash and the designer, wow, and I'm always interested in the subtle little everyday designs. I mean, and it's really more, I guess I would use the word creative thinking. Like when there's creative thinking in parking lot design, my life is made better and there is less violence in the world. And that could be the 0.0001% improvement in the quality of life. But I really do believe that this is so, whatever. This is almost like a religious philosophical theory, but I really believe that every single decision you make either tips it a little bit over to the 50% better, the world is a better place, or a little bit under, the world is a little bit of a worse place. When I watch some movies, I go, that movie, I know it was exciting, but that's making the world a worse place. Whatever movie I'm thinking of. When I look at some ads, or a lot of ads, I go, that ad is making the world a worse place. That grocery cart is making the world a worse place. That, and then I'll get on some airplane and I'll say, that extra 3 inches of legroom is making the world a better place. And I don't mean just for me, my own luxury, but it's actually making me happier. It's making me interact with the people around me. There's actually a lift, literally a slight lift, when they decide that it's not all about the bottom line and having 5 more rows of crammed in seats, but actually maybe a better experience. And gee, isn't that kind of cool? My name is Doug Pray, and we are at Design Indaba, and very happy to be here.
My name's Eames Demetrious, and I'm at Design Indaba, and it's been great, and they take very, very good care of us.
I'm Gary Hustwit, and this is Design Indaba.